I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Fernandez Zamora. She's an environmental and social justice advocate and activist who will share her vision of reimagining community and how she's working to make that a reality. Erica.
How are we doing? I think we can do better. How are we doing? It is an honor and a privilege for me to be sharing this powerful space with all of you this afternoon. I can feel the Latino power. Let's do it again. How are we doing? Thank you for the opportunity to address you all at the inaugural Stanford Latino Summit. Today, I will take you to a place where we can reimagine what a future can look like for Latinos both on the farm and beyond. Today, I want to share part of my journey in hopes that doing so will help us reimagine what taking action looks like and illustrate the importance of reflecting in our collective stories. I want us to think about this expression. Si sabes de dónde vienes, sabrás a dónde ir. If you know where you come from, you will know where to go. I was born and raised the first 10 years of my life in Michoacán, Mexico. Coming from humble beginnings and despite very low expectations of what a young immigrant Mexican woman could do, I never imagined coming and graduating from Stanford. The path getting here was not easy, and I'm sure that that was the case for many of you in the room today, too. Obtaining an education in Mexico would have been impossible for our family as we did not have the resources to do so. In Mexico, I worked along with my mother and my siblings in the fields in the mornings, and in the afternoons I went to school. Even though both of my parents never went to school, my mother, who only knows how to write her name, wanted my siblings and me to go. Despite very well knowing what was expected of us if we stayed in our small town. After a couple of attempts to reunite with my parents in Oxnard, California, some of my siblings and I were able to be reunited after a year of separation. Immigrating to Oxnard, California was a challenge. We struggled as many immigrant families do. We did not know the language. We did not have the social capital to navigate this foreign land. Yet, we had that ganas and the desire to do better. Having arrived at 10 years old to the U.S. meant that my only job was to do well in school, since I was too young to work in the fields. I did well in school despite not knowing the language, the new rules, and the expectations. I got good grades not because I thought I was going to end up in a place like Stanford, but because I learned that that was the best way to help my farm worker parents. My good academic standing and my early involvement in community organizing around environmental injustices gave me the opportunity and the courage to dream and reimagine a world of possibilities that many times I was told did not exist. Learning English as a second language and learning to navigate a new educational system without parental support was difficult, but not as difficult as deciding to leave my parents at the tender age of 15 to pursue my dream of obtaining an education. My parents were forced to leave Oxnard in pursuit of affordable housing. They could no longer afford living there on their farm worker wages. They moved to the Central Valley while I stayed behind in Oxnard, living on my own and working through high school while also organizing my community to fight for environmental justice. With the help of many courageous environmental leaders and mentors, my environmental activism career began by focusing on issues of environmental racism that were adversely impacting the large population of Mexican immigrant farm workers in Oxnard. Agricultural fields surrounding that community are still laced with pesticides. A towering power plant sits on the beach, and a toxic Superfine site exists less than half a mile away, polluting the last remaining natural wetlands in Southern California. At that time, A multi-billion-dollar gas corporation, BHP Billington, had proposed a liquefied natural gas facility 14 miles off the coast of Oxnard. Traditionally, Mexican women are not encouraged to speak up, but protecting our environment was a personal catalyst for change in my life. I became very involved in outreach, education, activism after joining the Central Coast Alliance United for a Sustainable Economy, a nonprofit also known as CAUSE, and was trained to be a community organizer when I was 12 years old. We waged a 4-year battle that included educating, informing, organizing, and training thousands of people. After a long fight, we accomplished the impossible. We defeated the richest mining corporation through a political process, concluding with the governor's veto and a bill in state legislature. At the end of the battle, I represented youth and everyone in my community by providing testimony in the main hearings and mobilizing people to take action. The long struggle at a young age gave me the voice that I never thought I could have and allowed me to dream of greater things. With hard work and determination, we were able to accomplish what I never thought was possible. I was able to reimagine that together we can make a greater difference in our communities and our environment if we take action. Those high school years were tough, but thanks to my mother's example of perseverance and finding my voice as a youth organizer, I was able to graduate with honors and attend Stanford. This place challenged me in many ways. It made me question my identity, my capacity, and many other things. But it also opened up doors to places I never imagined. It connected me to others and it gave me the opportunities to achieve many things. After a few years out of college, I found myself, after 13 years away from my parents, moving near them, in the heart of the Central Valley, advocating, educating, and organizing for environmental justice as I did to get here. You might say my life is coming full circle. I would say I am continuing to advocate for what still remains to be addressed, because if it's not me, then who will it be? Environmental justices continue to disproportionately impact low-income communities, especially communities of color, people that look like us. Currently, there are over 1 million Californians who do not have access to safe and affordable drinking water. The majority of these Californians live in the Central Valley. The majority of those impacted in the Central Valley are Latino families, and that includes my family and the many other families who I work on a daily basis to ensure that they have access to safe and affordable drinking water in their houses and in schools. As a Latina, as a Mexican immigrant, as an organizer, as an advocate, as an activist, as a Stanford alum, today I ask you all to reimagine California, the 5th largest economy in the world, to do better for Latino families when it comes to immigration, education, and the environment. What can we do to ensure that more Latino students attend to places like Stanford and feel that they belong? How do we continue to build power in our communities that are disproportionately impacted by environmental racism? What can we do to ensure that Latino families have safe and clean water to drink? What can we do to ensure that our Latino families have clean air to breathe? What can we do so that our Latino families have fair living wages and affordable housing? How can we support policies that ensure Latinos have safe and affordable drinking water in their houses and in schools? That there are comprehensive immigration reform and continuous investment in public education. How can we change the narrative and the rhetoric of how a Latino should look like or sound like? How can we create more opportunities for Latino students in every field that we're currently working in? We know that graduating from Stanford has given us a certain credibility. That credibility comes with privilege and obligation because it's what we do that matters. Today I ask you to reclaim, to reconnect, and reimagine how far we can go because of how far we have come. Before I leave you today, I want to thank you again for the incredible invitation and hope we can listen to our collective stories and reimagine life collaborating together to make Stanford better, to make the world better. With that, I would like to conclude with the words of my role models that are Latino, Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta, who inspires me to take action every day. Once social change begins, it cannot be reversed. You cannot educate a person who has learned to read. You cannot humiliate a person who feels pride. And you cannot oppress the people who are not afraid anymore. We are the future, and the future is ours. Thank you, and si se puede. Gracias.